Hi, this is Steve Adler. Good evening. Got a minute? All right, let's talk about the virus. Let's talk about some numbers. Look good tonight. Makes me nervous. We're also going to talk a little bit about voting and then feeling buddies. So let's begin. Let's bring up the first dashboard. Key indicators, hospitalizations, new admissions, 16. Boy, I tell you, it's been a while since we got to that number. 7-day moving average below 20 at 18. Number continues to head down, not at the same pace it was going up, but still moving down. New cases, look over to the right, 68 new cases today. It's the first number we've had in a while that has not had the additional state bump. Remember when the state dumped on us a couple thousand of these things going back some to April. Many we already had, but we had to go through each one to find out if it was a duplicate or not. But anyhow, today, 68 cases, doubling time, 181 days. It means the number of cases double every 181 days at the pace we're going at now. Less than 2 months ago, we were doubling every 17 days. Community pretty remarkable in being able to pull together. We still have the disparate impact. So the community that is feeling the brunt of what we have left here right now, Hispanic community, Latino community. The infectivity level for the whole community, including Latino community, going down. But as we saw yesterday, those numbers still trail the general population. As we said and keep saying over and over again, we've got to come cross this finish line together, or not even on a finish line. It's kind of our sustaining line. And then we have to hold. These numbers are looking good, but again, if you look over to the left on that chart, it doesn't take us but 2 weeks to fall apart. We have some icebergs in the water as we approach, and we'll talk about some of those in just a second. Look at the 7-day running average. You can see hospitalizations down to 167. Number of people in our hospitals today, 155. In ICUs, 7-day running average 59. Number in our ICUs 57. So still lower than the 7-day average, but real close to it. Ventilators. 7-day running average 39, and we have 35 people in ventilators. So we continue heading down. We just have to make sure we keep our feet on this brake, get the numbers down lower. You know, every time those numbers go down, we increase the chances that the schools will be able to stay open. Going to the next page, you can see that we don't have any new information yet on positivity by race, ethnicity. That chart in the middle is the same one we saw earlier in the week when we talked about the disparate impact in the Latino community. But just as a reminder, we're heading down, but that is the trailing group that is information as of August 8th. We had a 2-week lag with that data. Next week, I'm hoping we can catch up so that when we report this data, we can change it more frequently, and we can change it more frequently, but also have more up-to-date numbers. But that's the indicators. Let's go to the next dashboard. 26,307 cases, 377 people passed away. That's an increase of 1. So again, and you know, we just can't keep adding to that number every day without really taking a second to think about the fact that there are 3 families today that lost somebody, and this is a huge day, you know, for them. And our prayers and thoughts are with those families. You can see new graphs that are down to the left. That shows you cases, estimated recoveries, active cases. Go to the city's website. These dashboards are getting real informative and real helpful. Okay, do we have the University of Texas one with us today, or any other dashboard, Anita? Maybe not. All right. Let's do some community. Oh, yes, we do. Anita tells me, hang on a second, I think she's going to pull one up. There's the University of Texas dashboard. This has now been updated. Up in the upper left-hand corner, we have the R factor. We want to keep that below 1. We want to drive it down. It's at 0.85 right now. Its number is really somewhere between 0.52 and 1.48. But based on the dots, those green dots, so it's hospitalizations. You can see it's narrowing the number, the projected line flat, maybe going down just a little bit. That's kind of where we are, headed down, but headed down slowly. We want to try and keep up that trend as best we can and bring it down as far as we can. When the University of Texas is projecting that R factor in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner, they look not only at the admissions data, but they also look at the mobility information that they have. This is basically in an anonymized way. They track cell phone usage as a service that does that. And then they present us results, and we can see graphs, and we can see whether activity is picking up at restaurants and at bars, at libraries, at parks, at schools, at health facilities. And based on increased activity, the University of Texas modelers take that into account when they're looking at the reproduction number. You know, we've moved from stage 4 down to stage 3. You can go out and you can do more stuff. By this stage, you can do more things that are in reopened businesses. My family probably go to some more restaurants now that we weren't doing before. I will tell you, when we do it right now, for us, our comfort level is we're staying outside. We're going to restaurants that really do a good job of social distancing, people wearing masks to and from their tables, wait staff wearing masks. We haven't done it very often. We're still going to keep the number low, but we're engaging in it again. And I'm trying to do it primarily with my family so that I'm not out with another group of people every night. And I'm doing it in part because I know that that's the best way to ensure that we can keep open schools, which is really the priority. This is the number, shows you hospitalizations heading down, just another way to see that key data point. Those are the blue markers. The yellow is the 7-day running average. All right, let's talk about community updates here. Not this weekend, but the next weekend is Labor Day. That's one of the icebergs in the water I'm talking about. You may have already been asked to attend a Labor Day function or party, maybe a barbecue in somebody's backyard. You know, if you've been asked to attend a gathering of more than 10 people, or if there's like the crowd is too big or people aren't masking, the best thing you can do is to say that, hey, the mayor said this is not safe, and I'm going to pass on this kind of thing now until we can get to the next risk level, heading lower. During Memorial Day, we weren't real mindful, and that's what started us, perhaps that and reopening businesses too quickly started us on the peak we saw in June, and then, the emergency steps we had to take. We did good on July 4th, but that's when everybody was looking at ICUs that were filling up. Now we have Labor Day, and we don't have the same kind of pressure we had with the ICUs, but I tell you, boy, we have the need. So please, this Labor Day, don't join any unsafe gatherings over the course of that weekend. On school safety and business survival depends on it. I want to talk to you a little bit about what the city's doing, just so that you can see the programs that the city's been offering, just by way of review, because we've been doing a series of programs every month. In April, the city initiated the Economic Injury Bridge loans. That's for businesses looking for the SBA loans, but they weren't starting right away, so the city stepped in with some bridge loan relief. The relief in the state of emergency rise, that got some cash payments to people in our city that weren't otherwise eligible or qualifying for programs. The first thing we did was to try our best just to try to make sure that people could stay alive, that they would have food to be able to eat, and certainly a roof over their heads. That extended into May. The rent program, the relief of emergency need for tenant, piloted that program, got rental assistance for a lot of people that were real nervous at that point about losing their homes. In June, we moved for some programs, the Austin Creative Space Disaster Relief Program and the Austin Music Disaster Relief Fund, to help the arts and music communities. In August, we moved then to the next series of programs. They were saving jobs and job creators, the Austin Child Care Provider Relief Grant, Austin Nonprofit Relief Grant, the Austin Small Business Relief Grant. I wish there was enough money for us to be able to do everything that we need to do. I am scared to death about whether or not we have a child care infrastructure that survives when we come out the back of this virus. We're going to need it in place so that people can go to work, so that they can go to school. And I'm just real worried about our child care providers hanging on. I'm concerned about our restaurants being able to hang on, our bars being able to hang on. They're opening up more bars now because a bar can now open if it has an associated food truck. The problem, the challenge associated with bars is that people get too close together. They start having some drinks. The inhibition leaves. People stop wearing the face covering, or it slides down on their face, and everybody's drinking and having a good time and mixing. See spikes all over the place. London opened up their bars because they're the pubs central to their lives, and ended up having to pull back from that. Bars oftentimes is the Achilles heel. So we really let's show that we can be the place that can do this well. But it's going to take people maintaining the discipline, even in bars, even in restaurants. And if we maintain the discipline, then we can actually do more stuff. But boy, I tell you, it needs everybody maintaining the discipline to get that done. Continuing on the program, September, this is where we're coming up to now. We have a civilian conservation corps. We're taking some folks that are out of work, some experiencing homelessness, putting them in our parks and other places to do some work. Kind of like the civilian conservation corps that this country had nearly 100 years ago. Commercial landlord relief program, rental relief targeted to some of our landlords that are really at risk of not being able to pay mortgage payments associated with the virus. Technical assistance program, or workers' customer safety program, so that as we open these locations, businesses have the resources to be able to make sure that they do it in a safe way. Nonprofit relief grant, that's to help the organizations to provide the infrastructure, to provide a lot of services that we just can't lose as part of this virus. And those are the risks we continue to face. But we're all trying to pull together. We're trying to do it on limited means. We need the federal government to pass CARES Act 2. I know they're all doing their conventions and stuff. Hopefully they'll be coming back here in the next week or so, and then the pressure's got to be on. Call your DC Senate, our Texas congressional delegation, senators, and our folks in Congress, so that they actually do something, because the challenge, what we need in this city just to be able to help our restaurants be able to get through it, is somewhere between $30 and $50 million. We don't have $30 or $50 million at the city level in order to be able to provide that level of protection for the restaurants and the bars. But that's what we need, and we need help. And I don't believe that they're going to give us that much help, but we need that help, and the consequences are still dire. But anyhow, let's bring in special guests as we're talking about congressional delegations and hoping that elected officials do something to deliver for us. Here is Charlie Bonner. One of my favorite folks here in town, doing good work. Charlie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Mayor. And just want to say thank you so much for doing these streams in general. As a young person who doesn't watch a lot of local news, this is the only way that I'm figuring out what's going on here in town. So I really appreciate you making this accessible for so many people.
Well, way too kind, and thanks for apparently watching sometimes. So you're on here today to talk to us about voting. You're with Move Texas.
Yes, sir.
Explain what that is.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Charlie Bonner. I'm the communications director at Move Texas. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit working to build political power for Texas's young people, and that manifests itself mostly in a lot of voter registration. Even amidst this pandemic, which has made voter registration really difficult, we announced yesterday that we've registered 25,000 young people this year.
Wow, that's incredible. How has voting changed since the last presidential context in terms of who votes? Not how to vote. Who votes?
Well, we are seeing both. We're seeing changes in how we're going to vote too. That's for sure.
Talk about them both.
We'll go both. But first, we are seeing a huge increase in the number of young people that are turning out to vote and that are registering to vote. So between 2014 and 2018, we saw youth voter registration in Texas triple. And we know that voting is a habit. So those people didn't just disappear in 2018. They're building up that habit of being a voter. And we know that they're going to show up again this time. And the state is getting younger and more diverse every day. And our electorate is really going to reflect that.
Pretty exciting. When I started in running an elected office, and I haven't been in elected office very long, so it's not that long time ago. But in 2014, all the political minds talked to me about how important it was to win the vote of people over 55, because they were the people that voted. And the young people never voted. You could go talk to as many young people as you wanted. It didn't help you actually win an election. But it was really focusing on people over 55 because they voted. But I'll tell you, in this last election that we just had here, I understand that almost 40% of the people that voted were under 40.
Yeah, the first time that's ever happened in Travis County. And it is in part because we had politicians like yourself showing up for young people. We met for the first time on campus when you were showing up and passing out donuts and things to folks waiting in line to vote. And this moment is really necessitating folks showing up for young people, because as we had mentioned, voting is going to be different this year. And we know that many first-time voters are going to have difficulty navigating this system. And it's going to take all of us working together to make sure that young people have the resources that they need to be a voter.
How is voting different now than it was last election?
Yeah, well, first of all, as everyone has probably heard, a lot more people are going to be voting by mail. Even here in Texas, which has some pretty tight restrictions compared to the rest of the country, which is putting that mildly, we still know that many people qualify and maybe have never voted by mail before, and it's going to be really important that they get those ballots back in and make those requests early. This is not a year to be a procrastinator when it comes to voting. This is when we really need to get things in early. And there are still going to be many young people who qualify, whether they may have a disability or maybe they're registered to vote at an address that they're not currently at, like they're registered at home and they're now on campus. All of those folks qualify for vote by mail, and we need to make sure that we're walking them through this kind of complicated process. We also know that there's going to be a lot of different options to vote this year. We have a week more of early voting, which is really going to help us spread out the lines at the polling place. I don't suggest you go on the first day of early voting or the last day of early voting, but maybe find one of those middle days. If you can, take it on lunch, maybe in one of those weekend shifts that thankfully we will have. Travis County is also really lucky. You can go to the Travis County Elections website and they'll give you wait times for all those different polling locations. So you can go and find the one on your lunch break that might have the shortest line and make it really accessible for you. And we also know in Travis County, they're really investing to give different options to folks. So they're experimenting with a drive-through polling location where we can do some curbside voting. They're making sure that people can turn in their vote by mail ballots at the Travis County Clerk's office. So you don't even need to use the Postal Service. You can turn that in person. So lots of different ways that people are going to be voting this year.
Well, that's exciting to see. And it was safe. I voted in the last election here a few weeks ago, and everybody was distanced out. Everybody was wearing masks. There was plexiglass between me and the elections officials that were there. They even gave me a little balloon to stick on my finger so that.
I'm like, we're calling it a balloon? Okay.
What would you call it?
The finger condom.
A finger condom. This is a family show I'm running here. But anyhow, it goes on your finger, and you get your own, and you can take it with you when you leave. But it's what you press when you use the button, and that's pretty exciting to that they're really taking care. And we need everybody to vote. But then in this presidential election, whatever side you're voting on, I would imagine that pretty much everybody actually really wants to vote in this election. Make sure that when you do, you go all the way through the whole ballot. Just don't vote for the president. Go all the way down. There's going to be really important measures on there. City council elections are going to be on there. The election for us being able to pass Project Connect and have regional transit's going to be on the ballot this year. So everybody needs to go down. What are some of the misconceptions or myths about voting?
Yeah, I think a lot of the times we hear that it's too difficult, that maybe folks don't have all the information that they need to be voters, especially this year when misinformation is all over the internet and all of the rules are changing, the dates of the election are changing. We know it's not easy right now, but it's so important for people to find trusted information like a stream like this, like groups like Move Texas, the League of Women Voters, and both our elections office and our tax assessor, all really great resources for people to make this as easy as possible. So I think we just have to remember that it is easy, and people still can access voter registration. Many people only register in Texas when someone puts a clipboard in their hands at a concert or at a bar or on a college campus, and we're still trying to make that as accessible as possible right now. So if you go to movetexas.org/register, fill out your information. We'll pay to send you a voter registration application. We pay postage both ways. You just have to sign it, put it back in the mail before that October 5th deadline.
Well, that sounds awfully convenient. So everybody look, there it is, movetexas.org/register. You'll get an application, prepaid, sign it, send it back. Don't even have to find a stamp.
Easy.
Can't make it any easier than that. What are the deadlines that people need to be focused on?
Yeah, a lot of really important deadlines. And I think for folks that are really plugging in right now, asking how they can help, sharing these deadlines is absolutely critical. So the most important one coming up is that voter registration deadline, which is October 5th. And then after that is the start of early voting, which we have said is up a week this year. So that's going to start October 13th and run through October 30th and give you lots of days to get in there and get voting. And then that last day that you can request a vote by mail application is October 23rd. But do not wait until October 23rd. It's okay to start requesting it now, fill it out, and get it in.
God, it's hard to believe that voting is actually going to start in less than 2 months. Less than 60
We're
days.
no longer counting down to election day, right? Because so many people are going to be voting early or by mail. The countdown starts way before election day of when people are going to need to get out there.
Well, I hope everybody votes. Make sure that you're registered. Make sure everybody in your family is registered. Make sure your friends are registered. Make sure strangers that you happen to talk to, make sure they're registered. And people like Charlie and Move Texas are making it easy. Charlie, thank you for the work you're doing. Really, 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 really important. It's good to see you again. Thanks for joining
me. Good to see you.
Okay, Charlie, take care. All right, we're going to sign off tonight. We're going to be recognizing that, while families are having great moments with each other, this is also pretty uncertain time. So I want to talk about Luca. Luca is 5 years old here in Austin. And he and his family have been working through some complicated feelings that he has in a really sweet and creative way. So here is Luca with his feelings buddy. And he and Luca and his family worked on this together. Luca picked the body and the face and the material, and his mom drew the face, cut the pieces, and his dad, Kel, stuffed and sewed Luca's buddy. And he talks about his feelings with his feeling buddy, and the buddy helps him turn around any feelings that they work on together. Luca loved this project so much that he has also made a ghost, and he made a French fry too. He came up with the idea for the French fry all by himself. He picked out the fabric, he stuffed it himself, and he started to learn how to use a handheld sewing machine to make the French fry. You know, I think we could all use a feeling buddy nowadays, and even some French fries. So good job, Luca and family. Thanks for sharing that with us. Just looking at those pictures made me feel better, and that became a really needed kind of coping opportunity for me. Great way to learn those skills. Hey, everybody, heading into the weekend, be careful, be safe, be diligent, wear your mask. Take care.